It's tradition in England that the best man starts by thanking the bridesmaids, and as they've done such a fabulous job today, on behalf of David and Anju, I'd just like to say thank you so much to the bridesmaids for looking after her throughout the day. Done a great job. I'd also like to thank the guys that came out on Thursday night to help make Dave's bachelor party such an unforgettable night. It's unforgettable for me and Dave because you can't forget what you can't remember. I'd like to thank Dave for giving me the honour of being his best man. I must have overcome some really stiff competition from his other friend. The invite came with the caveat that I'm not to tell any embarrassing stories, anything that's out of line, so if you want to know what happened the first time Dave ever really got drunk, you can buy me the drink afterwards in the bar and I'll talk you through it. Okay? On the subject of drinks, I would like to propose a toast on behalf of David and Anju to the parents for everything that they've done. I know Dave was... You can put the glasses down. I'm going to talk a little bit more. Dave is particularly impressed with meticulous preparations that have gone into this wedding. I know the 4-hour interview with the florist was a particular highlight for him. And the photographers, man, I believe every man with a camera this side of Chicago has been interviewed, so you guys must really be good. I did some research on a best man speech, and I found out that one of the things you can talk about is something special that happened in history on the day of the wedding. So I found two things, one American and one English to keep it fair. Firstly, some English history. This is all relevant to a wedding, by the way. 11th of April 1679, Mary II and William III became King and Queen of England. And fittingly, Mary was known as a charming and very attractive woman, just like today's bride. And William, just like David, who's risen through the ranks at Lily to become group leader, William was just an inspirational leader for his people. And for those of you lucky enough to see the bridal or the groom's procession this afternoon, William was also very famous for his inability to ride a horse properly. Somewhat worryingly for me, the American history is today is the 144th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's last ever public speech. And I'm kind of concerned about that, because if it's a precedent that you give a disappointing speech and get shot 4 days later, if we could have a big ovation at the end, that would be great. Now, the majority of people here really don't know who I am, so I thought I'd just give a little story about how David and I first met. Picture the scene, if you will. It's a college bar, and our eyes met across a crowded room. Dave raised his eyebrow at me. And he walked over and he smiled. And immediately I knew we had a special connection. And I looked down and yes, we were both wearing the claret and blue of our hometown soccer team, Aston Villa. And we talked all night. And at the end of the evening, Dave said those 3 special words that mean so much in any relationship. Up the Villa. We've been great friends ever since, and David's been with me for some of the most important moments in my life. He was there the night I met my wife, and he was best man for me, and he did a tremendous job as best man. At the end of the night, someone came up to me and said, "That was the best speech I've ever heard." And that was a lovely tribute from Dave's mum. Anyway, David, I'm being genuine for a minute. I'm really glad that I'm here today to support you on your special day. Now that you've married Anju, you're a really lucky groom. You've got a wife who's charming and wonderful and attractive, and she really deserves a good husband. But luckily for you, you got there first. So Seriously, no, I meant to say, no, I can't think of a better man for the job, that's what I meant to say. So. Anyway, David and I have known each other for a long time, and I was trying to think of a story that I could tell that we could tell in front of his new family without causing him too much embarrassment. And I'm thinking back to the time that we shared a house together, and it suddenly struck me about how much in common there was with living with Dave back then and living with my 2-year-old son now. I had 3 points down, but after the bachelor party, I now know that they both look really good in bunny ears as well. So, way to go, Thumper. The next similarity, obviously, anyone with small children knows you never ever give them peanuts. If you do, Dave he goes pale and he wheezes a lot. If anyone's ever reminded him it's his round at the bar, you'll know what I'm talking about. Thirdly, you cannot leave them alone in a room for more than 15 seconds without them finding something to dismantle. Have it in pieces. I came home from lectures one day and found Dave in our house with the VCR in bits on the floor. He had a big grin on his face until I reminded him he'd have to put it back together in order to tape Sesame Street in the morning. The final similarity is that the 2-year-olds are not the tidiest creatures in the world, and neither is Dave. So some serious advice now, David. As someone who's intelligent enough to get a PhD in physics, you must be able to work out what those devices in the kitchen actually do without taking them apart first. And unlike when we lived together, I think you should wash up after meals instead of leaving it to pile up in the sink over the week and then doing it all in one go on Sunday night when you take your weekly bath. Marriage brings new responsibilities to you too, Anju. From now on, you should never disagree or argue with Dave because he's the head of the family now. You look lovely today, and Dave will expect you to maintain this high standard, keep your makeup and hair perfect at all times, and dress in a way that pleases him. You should encourage him to socialise, cook his favourite meals each night, and once a week you should let him play around. Sorry, Dave, man, you're right, it's terrible. What does that say? I apologise. Once a week, you should let him play a round of golf with his friends. Finally, you'll be glad to know, on a serious note, I'm delighted to see David marry such a wonderful lady. Despite living 4,000 miles away, I was lucky enough to meet Anju a couple of times before the wedding, and it's clear to me already they make a fantastic couple. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to finish with a toast to David and Anju, so please be upstanding and raise your glasses to Anju and David, the bride and groom. Thank you. You can do the ovation now. I'm finished. I'm done.